what we've got is a little bit of the grey that I use for the harbour wall. There is ultramarine in here, so I'm putting some of that into the ultramarine. Nice and dark ultramarine and burnt sienna won't give us a black, it'll give us a grey, and I prefer to use a mixed grey because you can make it a warm or a cold grey. So in goes the hull. Using the flat brush, I'm leaving little gaps. I'm going to leave a little gap there, and I'm going to leave a little gap where the bow is, the blunt end is, sorry, the sharp end is. Confusing myself. And we'll put in the white line. I could have masked that off, but it's easy enough to put in. My little gap there, I'll just put a few little touches in, and it will look like it's the registration mark or something from a distance. And we'll just put another little line using this flat brush on its edge. You can get quite sharp angles on this, look. And we'll just put in the dark on this side. This is in shadow, it'll be darker, but I'm putting it in at this strength now, and we'll come back to it. The base of the vessel, the hull underneath, is actually this rusty red colour. So I'm using a little bit of cadmium red into the grey mix from the wall, and this will give me a kind of a rusty red. Don't know if it is rust, it's probably been painted with anti-fouling paint or something like that. And we'll put that in on the hull, along the base of the hull, and of course right underneath the boat it's going to be dark, and I will need to run a dark shadow in underneath that later when it's dry. We'll look at the foreshore, we'll look at the area here. While we're working on putting in detail though on the vessels, I'm going to work back into the distance here and put in little rectangular windows for the boats here in the distance. Two cabins, because one boat moored sort of beside the other one, adjacent to the other one. Using the brush on its flat, putting in little edges, little touches. This is not an important part of the painting. I may even work over it again and darken it later on, putting in a few reflections there as well. There are some verticals and some masts and so on. I'll wait until I need a round brush for something, and I'll use a round brush for putting those in. But this is really just background, so it's not important to put too much detail into this. So they are just there at the moment, and we'll now wait for everything to dry. Okay, the image now is more or less dry, but I'm working back in with a cerulean blue, a little tiny touch of grey in it, and we're going to put some colours on the distant two boats, and basically put in some touches of cool colour on these boats. I don't really want to put in too much dark or warm colours, because that's going to come too close, it'll look too near. We'll put in a few verticals. There's going to be some of the fishing gear, and we're using an all-rounder. This brush is equivalent to a number 7 or 8 brush. Just the tip of it, I'm using the tip of the brush just to lay in a fairly dilute grey now, and we'll put in the hint of a reflection here. There's not going to be much, but we'll put in the hint of a reflection of some of these, the mast here for instance. Just put in a little touch there, just a wobbly little line. We'll put in another vertical coming down here, a rope or something, and a little bit of jumble, because these boats are never really that tidy. There's always kind of things stored on them and going on. I'm going to use a similar colour just to put in a little bit of dark on this reflection of the harbour wall, just to redefine that edge there. And then we'll put in the beach, the little bit of foreshore there, the shadow under here, and a little bit of reflection, and then apart from the sail, that will suffice. Okay, so I've got a yellow ochre here, mixed with a little bit of burnt sienna, tiny touch of ultramarine to make it go slightly grey, and we'll start working in the sand, the beach here. It's fairly gritty and rough. It's not silver or white sand or golden colour. It's a little bit cobbly as well. We'll just put this in. I'm using a round brush for this, and I've got to put in the shadow under the trawler and underneath the harbour wall. So we're going to add some blue to this, a little bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine to that mix to put in this shadow, and it's quite dark there. There'll be a few shadows in under here as well, shadow on the wall down here. And the nice thing is that compared to watercolour, none of the underpainting is going to move. That will all stay as I've painted it, not move at all. Shadow under this boat and the figure. And I'll mix up some colour for the sail, which is going to be very similar to the colour of the hull to tie it all in together. Maybe a little bit more, a little hint of crimson about it. I'll put a little bit of magenta into it, and we'll put the sail colour in here. That will do for that, and a little bit of blue in there, make it a little bit greyish, purpley grey for the reflection and shadow underneath the trawler down here. And that's just half out of the water really, partly on the sand, so there's not much of a reflection. We'll just pull a little bit of that out with a bit of kitchen roll a minute. The figure, nice and dark, ultramarine, and a little bit of burnt sienna in it. Put the head in, the hair, using the brush in a loose and fairly spontaneous way. So someone there working on their boat, about to launch it or making it ready anyway. Shadow under there, and just a hint of a grey for the boat. The hull of the boat here, so we can see that there's a little bit of launching going to take place. Someone's putting some last minute touches to the rowing boat before he takes it out. We'll put a line around it, a dark line, and then sit back and see how this looks. So a few little touches to finish off. I'm just going to take the masking fluid off on the top of the hull of the trawler there, rubbing it fairly gently across, and I've got a blue to put in, the quite a bright blue for the boxes on the stern of this boat, and a very pale blue for the shadow side of the cabin, so it looks more three-dimensional, and that completes the painting in a watercolour technique with masking fluid.
Now available to buy. Try these techniques at home whenever you wish. The DVD of today's workshop and the book that accompanies this series are now available to order from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.